Hey everybody, it's Steve Garvin, and I am joined by my friend Angela Jackson, who is another contributor to the Heart Notes Anthology. Welcome to our little spotlight opportunity, Angela.
Oh, Steve, thank you so much. It's such a joy and an honor to be here. And I'm so grateful that Heart Notes is doing so well, as it should. One of a kind.
Thank you. I was just saying that about your Heart Note, which for everybody's information, Angela wrote a Heart Note entitled Dear Anger. And of the, I don't know, roughly 30 Heart Notes in this book, there is only one of them entitled Dear Anger. Can you tell us about that Heart Note?
Well, I can. First of all, I know that anger is a passionate subject for a lot of people. I mean, we all have anger, whether we acknowledge it or not. And it is simply one letter away from danger. So the thing is that if we keep anger inside of us and we push it down, we get sick. A lot of statistics show that, research shows that. If we push our anger down, we get sick. However, if we act it out and we dump it on other people, they get sick of us. So we've got to learn how to own our anger and deal with it. And so the letter that I wrote is about doing that, and I think it shows a whole lot of techniques and ideas in that note, but it's written as a story, as a letter. So I really, really hope people will read it, because it will shed some light on the subject of anger. Not a good idea to shove it under the rug or stick it in the closet. Own it, admit that we have it, and then use it for our benefit.
You know, when you just said, don't shove it in the closet, I had the image of, I don't know, it was Monsters, Inc. or one of those types of movies. And there's like this monster on the other side of the door, anger, and it's like pounding on the door and making a big mess, big racket. And then, you know, the longer you keep it shoved inside there, the more anger builds up, and the bigger mess you end up with.
Exactly.
But I suspect if you open the door and let it out sooner, it is not such a horrendous thing to deal with.
It's not. And you know what? There are benefits to anger. Like I'm going to share a couple of them with you if you'd like to hear them.
Absolutely,
Would you like to hear them?
Yes.
Okay. So one of the benefits of anger is that it lets you know that there's something going on, something that is not okay going on. And sometimes that means that you have to take a stand in life, or you have to stand up for a belief that you have. And, you know, I liken it to just what would have happened if Martin Luther King hadn't taken a stand, you know, and he did, and the world changed. And the same with Mother Teresa. She was told, you know, not to go away, not to go to Calcutta, not to leave the order. And she basically said, well, I'm doing it anyhow. And she went. And look what happened. Look what happened as a result of Mother Teresa. And the work is still going on, even though she's not present. So at least not in body form. So, you know, it helps us take a stand in life. And not only that, there have again been studies showing that women who are diagnosed with cancer and fight it live 5 times longer than women, same diagnosis, and just accept it passively. Okay, well, I guess that's it. I'm going to die. And they do. So, you know, it helps us stand up for what we believe in. It helps us right wrongs. And whether that's at school where the teacher is picking on a kid, or there's a kid outside picking on another kid. I mean, bullying, it goes on. And it's unfortunate, it does. And so the kid that gets picked on is usually the sweetheart, the nice kid. And that little kid needs to learn to say, no, stop right now. Not necessary to get right in the fighting mode, but to have the energy and the conviction that I will not be a victim. I will not be a victim. And so, you know, that's another part of it. And the most important part, I think, is that it takes us inside where we can change and grow. Because if we become a friend of anger, I wrote a song, make a friend of anger, check in every day. I wasn't going to sing it. It will clear your energy. It will guide your way. Well, the thing is that if we do use anger as a friend, a trusted friend, we know that something's off. We're never angry for the reason we think. Something else is going on. And often inside it's a cover for, it's the mask. It's a cover for pain or fear, loss. And that's what we need to get to. So, hey.
That's great. So what I'm hearing in what you're saying is that anger isn't something to fear and to keep shut behind the door, but there's actually some positive benefits from anger, that if we allow that feeling, as well as in my opinion, all our other feelings, then,
yes.
The healthier that we are.
Absolutely. Emotions. I love to play with words. I write. I love to play with words. So emotions, they move through us. And if we let them move through us, they do. If we hold on to them like that, it's like stranglehold, right?
Yeah.
And they stay. And it's like, especially with anger, if we hold on to a resentment, it's like taking poison and hoping the other person will die, but it kills us. It really hurts our spirit and our body and our emotional intelligence. It stunts it. And it was so great, your picture of anger behind the door and the big monster. But as soon as, like when a kid has a nightmare, and you open the door, you turn the light on it, it comes out and you can sort of see it like the Wicked Witch of the West. It shrivels down into a puddle. Not a big deal. If we own it, a lot of people are afraid of anger, but I liken it to, it's sort of like a kissing cousin of passion, and we want passion.
Yes. Yeah, that's really interesting. And as I shared with you just a moment ago, that, I really feared, expressing my anger. And so and I do lots of things and I think they're really, really helpful in most cases. I'm very much into meditation. I love breath work and, all that kind of thing. And so I'm able to change my state pretty quickly. And one of the reasons that motivated me to do that was so that I wouldn't ever let anger be expressed publicly. And recently, just a couple of days ago, I gave a speech in Toastmasters where I expressed my anger publicly. And it was everybody responded in a very positive way because it was part of a story. And it was, a moment when I was angry because everything was turning out not the way they were supposed to be turning out. And I smashed my phone into the steering wheel and, and then it was gone. It lasted maybe a few seconds and that was it. And rather than hiding that, sharing that with everybody could relate to what I was talking about, whether they'd ever smashed their phone into the steering wheel or not, I don't know, but, but I think we've all experienced anger. And when we allow ourselves to experience that, when we just like with all these heart notes, it's really just giving us a vehicle for us to express what's going on inside.
Yes. And particularly people who claim that they don't have anger. And when I hear that, I ask, well, what about depression? And 9 out of 10 people will say, no, I don't get angry, but I really get depressed. And so that's one of the side effects. If you don't express your anger and you fall into depression, it's important to own the anger. Hey, it's not such a big deal as you just demonstrated, a few seconds. And we don't, as long as we're not hurting other people or pushing it down and hurting ourselves.
Yeah.
And then if we go behind what's going on. For me, when I got in touch with my anger, because I had a whole bunch of it, what behind it was that scared, hurt little girl. And I did not want to feel that vulnerability. And therefore, I would prefer to feel anger because I felt like if I was angry, then I was powerful.
Mm,
And if I was vulnerable, I could be victimized.
yeah.
So, that was my original experience, and that's how I felt. So I had to really shift, really shift and deal with the wounds. But I think that's another benefit of anger, because it sort of points us in the direction of what it is what are our wounds and how we can heal it. And I help people do that. That's my work.
Yeah. And I loved what you said earlier about emotions, that, when we allow those emotions to roll through us,
Yeah.
rather than blocking them or, resisting them or whatever, we create positive motion. We can move in the direction of our dreams, of our hopes or desires, of love and happiness, etc.
And peace and freedom, all of those beautiful things.
Absolutely.
We all have a shadow side, though, too. And I think it's important to acknowledge that, not to, like little girls were supposed to be sugar and spice and everything nice. Well,
Right.
we're not like, we have other sides. We all have a shadow side. So it's to acknowledge what that is and work with it so that we can release old patterns and old beliefs.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again, Angela, for sharing in our Heart Notes anthology. And thank you for sharing your wisdom, your experience, your heart with us in the spotlight. We are eager to get this book out to as many hearts and hands as possible, so that you too can share your heart note, which there is space in the back of the book for you to do that. So,
and please, a note to everybody: get the book, use the book, use it.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Steve.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
Total pleasure.